Hi, I am Alexander DeBarros, the Hollywood Birder. I'm here at DreamWorks Animation Studio, which, due to its proximity to the LA River and Griffith Park, makes it a wonderful place to find birds. Let's go! The Glendale Narrows Riverwalk is a vibrant patch of nature nestled along the LA River and flanked on one side by one of the busiest freeways in the United States, and on the other by major Hollywood studios such as Disney, DreamWorks, and ABC Television. The river provides an oasis in the midst of a sprawling metropolis, and while it may not look like much, it is one of the best spots to find a wide variety of birds. Here we have a group of baby geese. Young geese are precocial, which means that they can walk and swim within hours of hatching, usually while accompanied by their parents. The brown body, black neck, and white chin strap identify these as Canada geese, one of the most common geese in North America. Geese are well known for their long migrations, but with the advent of suburbs and golf courses, many of these grass eaters no longer have to migrate in order to find enough food. Here, we have a bird with a shiny blue back and a bright red underside. This makes it a barn swallow. This is a very interesting sighting because they don't spend a lot of time on land. They usually fly around catching airborne insects. Here, I believe they are gathering old pigeon feathers for nest linings. Even here, in the media capital of the world, birds will stake their claim in prized real estate. This large stick nest has belonged to common ravens for many years. Even among satellite dishes and office buildings, this common raven makes her home. Looks like everybody wants to get into show business. Alright, let's see what else we can find in the river. Here is a very common wading bird that can be found all throughout the US. Its long neck and legs and dark coloration. Oh, look, it's got its neck curled, which means it's hunting. Typically goes for fish and... Oh! Wait... Yes, it got the fish! Look at that. The bird has to remain very still to allow the fish to come in close, and then strike with incredible speed so the fish don't escape. So this is a great blue heron. They are among the most common birds along rivers and lakes. And as you saw, they typically hunt fish. If we look closely, we can see that the top of its head is entirely dark, and its wings are noticeably browner than the rest of the body. This identifies it as a young bird. An adult would have a white stripe through the center of the head, and the wings would be the same shade of blue as its back. Here we have a plain black bird with a short tail and a long yellow beak. These are a dead giveaway for the European starling. This invasive species was originally introduced in New York in 1890. Some genius thought Central Park would be more cultured if it had all the birds mentioned in Shakespeare's plays. While many species were released, this is the only one that became established, and has since spread out from New York to reach from Alaska to Mexico. They are now quite common, especially in large cities. As I was entering information into eBird, I suddenly heard an interesting call. There's definitely something up there. Let's take a closer look. Oh, please be what I think you are. Yes! The dark body and white patch behind the eyes makes this obviously a peregrine falcon. These really cool birds are not very common, but they're usually found along the river and on top of really tall buildings. Let me take a picture to confirm. Oh yeah, definitely a peregrine. These are the fastest animals on Earth. When hunting, they can dive at well over 200 miles an hour. For reference, a Category 5 hurricane is only 150 miles per hour. Here we have a small hummingbird. There are 3 kinds of hummingbirds that are common in LA. These are the Annas, Allens, and black-chinned. It may be hard to see in the video, but this bird has a shiny pink head and a mostly green back. These make it a male Anna's hummingbird. With a female Anna's, the pink would be restricted to the throat. Hummingbirds are well known for feeding on nectar, but they can also catch small flying insects, which this bird is doing right now. You may notice that the hummingbird's head only glows from certain angles. This is because of iridescence. Iridescent feathers brightly reflect light, but only in one direction. This is important for hummingbird courtship displays. This way, males shine directly for a female, but not for other animals or potential predators. While this bird is incredibly small, it is in fact the largest hummingbird in the US. Here is a bird that I am sure is familiar to many of you. The light body, brown breast, shiny green head, and bright yellow beak identify these as male mallards, the most common duck in North America. They are found on just about every lake and waterway, and feed primarily on grasses and aquatic plants, although many birds living in cities have gotten used to being fed by humans. In order to stay buoyant in water, they must spend much of their time straightening out and oiling their feathers. This behavior is called preening. Ooh, look at that. This is something new. This is not a species we usually find here. This invasive species is invading the land and chasing the mallards away, apparently to do their own preening. Pale body, white patch on the wings, reddish feathers on the neck, tip of the wings, and eyes make these Egyptian geese. So the Egyptian goose is a relatively recent introduction to Los Angeles County. They were originally brought over as captive birds for zoos and private collections, but many of them have since escaped, and they're now common all along waterways throughout Los Angeles and Orange counties. The Egyptian geese seem to be more common around recreational lakes, such as Lake Balboa and Echo Park. I believe this may have something to do with the fact that many of these birds are escapees and are used to human interaction. It could also be because, as a non-native species, they are not used to the natural vegetation and are more reliant on human handouts. Before we move on, let me get a quick photo. Ooh. Hidden in the reeds here is a very large white bird. It is relatively thin and has a long yellow beak. These make it a great egret. It is a wading bird that primarily hunts fish, much like the great blue heron we saw earlier. In fact, the two birds are very closely related. There are 2 long-necked white birds in LA, the great egret and the snowy egret. You can tell a great egret by its yellow beak, like you see here, while the smaller snowy egret would have a black beak. towards the end of our walk, we came across these wading birds. With their black and white bodies and long red legs, these would be black-necked stilts. They are very common along the LA River. Very common. They spend much of their time walking it in open water and feeding on invertebrates, such as snails and aquatic bugs. They generally nest on small islands and are very aggressive when protecting their nests. All in all, not bad for the middle of the city. The Glendale Narrows is a wonderful place to find birds, especially if you don't have time to get far out from the city. Among the hustle and bustle of Hollywood and Los Angeles, the LA River becomes a refuge for birds and birders alike. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am Alexander DeBarros, the Hollywood Birder.